Imagine this scene. You're at a dinner party. The room buzzes with chatter, the same recycled jokes, the same safe opinions, everyone nodding along in easy agreement. It feels light, effortless, comfortable. But then, one person speaks. Not louder, not angrier, just sharper. Their words slice through the atmosphere like glass breaking in a quiet room. And suddenly, the mood shifts. Laughter dies down, chairs creak, people glance at their phones as if they suddenly remembered a message. What just happened? You've just witnessed society's deepest, most ancient fear, the fear of intelligence. Not the kind of intelligence measured in grades, titles, or IQ scores, but the kind that exposes, the kind that forces us to see what we've been avoiding. Because here's the truth. Intelligent people don't terrify others because they know more. They terrify others because they reveal what others don't want to know. They act like mirrors, reflecting back the lies we tell ourselves about who we are, how we live, and what we believe. And the reflection is rarely flattering. Think about it. When was the last time someone said, "I love hanging out with her. She always points out when I am being fake"? Almost never. Why? Because people don't crave truth. They crave comfort. They want validation, not confrontation. They want their illusions left intact. This is why intelligence feels dangerous. It doesn't politely play along with the game of appearances. It notices when the emperor has no clothes. It asks questions that no one wants to hear. And in that moment, in that silence at the dinner table, society's mask slips. As Arthur Schopenhauer understood more than 2 centuries ago, people live in a carefully constructed world of appearances, a bubble designed to shield them from reality. But intelligent people? They are bubble poppers by nature. They can't help but see through the performance. They can't help but notice the cracks in the story. And that's the paradox. Society praises intelligence in theory, but in practice, it fears it. Because intelligence doesn't just illuminate the world, it exposes its shadows. Intelligent people are not feared because they're smarter, but because they hold up a mirror. To understand why this fear of intelligence runs so deep, we need to look at one of the most brutally honest philosophers who ever lived, Arthur Schopenhauer. Unlike many thinkers of his time, he didn't sugarcoat reality or dress it up in hopeful illusions. He described life as it was, not as we wished it to be. Schopenhauer observed that most people live not in reality itself, but in what he called the world of appearances, a carefully staged performance. In this world, comfort matters more than truth. Harmony matters more than honesty. People would rather believe a pleasant lie than confront an unsettling fact. But intelligent people disrupt this fragile balance. They are like children who point out the obvious when everyone else is pretending not to see. They expose the emperor's nakedness, and suddenly the comfortable illusion collapses. Now, ask yourself, why does this provoke so much hostility? Shouldn't we be grateful to those who see clearly? In theory, yes, but in practice, clarity feels like danger. Because if the world we've built rests on illusions, our beliefs, our routines, even our sense of self, then someone who pulls back the curtain threatens everything. Schopenhauer lived this reality himself. His writings were ignored and dismissed during his lifetime precisely because they stripped away the illusions people clung to. He reminded society that much of what we call freedom, love, or progress is shaped by forces we'd rather not acknowledge: unconscious drives, fear, and biology. And people hated him for it. But that rejection proves his point. Society doesn't resist intelligence because it's abstract or difficult. It resists because it is dangerous to the lies we've agreed to live by. And this is where the real story begins. Intelligence not as a gift or a curse, but as a mirror that reveals whether we dare to live authentically or whether we prefer the safety of illusions. Now, picture yourself sitting in a theater, watching a feel-good movie with your friends. The story is simple, the ending predictable. Everyone leaves with a smile. But you notice the cracks. You see the plot holes, the lazy writing, the way reality has been smoothed over to deliver a happy ending that doesn't exist in the real world. Do you speak up? Do you point out what's obvious to you, but invisible to everyone else? Or do you stay silent, unwilling to ruin their pleasant illusion? This is the daily experience of highly intelligent people. Not because they want to be contrarians, not because they enjoy spoiling the mood, but because they can't unsee what they see. Their minds are wired to look deeper, to question harder, to notice inconsistencies that others overlook. Arthur Schopenhauer called this the burden of consciousness. The higher your awareness, the heavier the weight you carry. Because once you see through the illusion, you can't step back inside it. Once you've glimpsed reality, you can't unknow it. It's like being the only sober person at a party full of drunk people. Everyone else is laughing, dancing, having fun, while you see clearly, too clearly, the chaos, the absurdity, the fragility of it all. And you feel like a stranger in your own environment, speaking a language no one else understands. This is why intelligent people so often feel out of place. They don't fit neatly into society's illusions. They aren't satisfied with simple answers to complex problems. They aren't able to just go along for the sake of belonging. They are, by nature, bubble poppers, and society resents them for it. Because once one bubble bursts, others may follow. And soon, the whole fragile world of appearances begins to collapse. So why does society react so strongly against intelligence? Why does a single question, a single observation, feel so threatening? The answer lies in something primal, our fight or flight response. Schopenhauer noticed that people often respond to uncomfortable ideas the same way they respond to physical danger. When confronted with an intelligent mind that cuts through illusions, people either attack or avoid. They ridicule, dismiss, or exclude. Or they quietly withdraw, labeling the thinker as too much, too serious, too negative. But why does a thought feel like a threat? Because when someone challenges your beliefs, they're not just questioning abstract ideas. They're questioning you, your values, your choices, your identity. And that feels personal. Think about it. The last time someone challenged a belief you held deeply, how did you feel? Your heart rate probably rose. You felt defensive, even angry, not because the logic was necessarily wrong, but because it touched something sacred, something you built your life around. Now imagine being around a person who makes you feel that way all the time. Every conversation with them feels like standing in front of a spotlight that exposes the cracks in your armor. It's exhausting. It's uncomfortable. And so, most people retreat. They distance themselves, not admitting that the discomfort comes from their own insecurity. And here's the cruel twist. Instead of acknowledging this fear, society flips the script. It blames the intelligent person. They think they're better than us. They're too arrogant. They overanalyze everything. These accusations aren't about truth. They're about defense, a shield against feeling exposed. This is the real reason society fears intelligence. Not because it's incomprehensible, but because it is undeniable. Because it shines light into places we'd rather keep dark. And in the presence of that light, many people would rather close their eyes than see. When society feels exposed by intelligence, it rarely admits the truth. Instead, it develops defense mechanisms. It invents stories to protect itself. The intelligent person is labeled pretentious, or negative, or a know-it-all. They're accused of overthinking, of being antisocial, of trying to show off. But look closer, these aren't real criticisms. They're excuses. Excuses that allow people to turn away from the discomfort of being challenged. Arthur Schopenhauer lived this reality in brutal clarity. His masterwork, The World as Will and Representation, barely sold during his lifetime. Academics dismissed him. The public ignored him. Why? Not because his ideas lacked value, but because they demanded honesty. He dared to say what no one wanted to hear. That much of what we call choice is an illusion, that our so-called noble motives are often rooted in hidden desires and fears. That love itself, that most celebrated of human emotions, is often little more than biology disguised as romance. People didn't want truth. They wanted beautiful lies. And so they mocked, rejected, and silenced him. But notice something. The labels given to intelligent people, elitist, arrogant, out of touch, these are not descriptions of intelligence itself. They are society's way of protecting its fragile illusions. By dismissing the messenger, people avoid confronting the message. This is why intelligent individuals so often feel misunderstood. They're not trying to dominate, not trying to insult. They're simply unwilling to play along with illusions. But the world misreads their honesty as hostility, their clarity as arrogance, and their solitude as superiority. And so, the cycle repeats. Society feels threatened, it deflects blame, and the very people who could help us grow are pushed to the margins. Let's be honest, society doesn't thrive on truth, it thrives on illusions. Illusions are easier to live with. They keep the machine running smoothly. And for most people, that's enough. We tell ourselves we have free will, that every decision springs from pure choice. We tell ourselves that love conquers all, that it is eternal, noble, and selfless. We tell ourselves that humanity is steadily marching toward progress, that we are better, wiser, kinder than the generations before us. But Schopenhauer ripped away those comforting narratives. He reminded us that our desires often run the show, not our reason. That what we call love may be nothing more than nature's trick to ensure survival. That progress often disguises repetition, with the same struggles appearing in new clothes. These truths are not easy to swallow. They bruise our pride. They threaten the stories that give our lives meaning. And so, we cling to what Schopenhauer called the world of appearances, a carefully crafted stage play where we pretend our roles are noble and our scripts are authentic. And when someone dares to interrupt the performance, when an intelligent voice cuts through the illusion, it feels like betrayal. Because if the stories are false, then what have we been living for? What have we been working for? What have we sacrificed for? This is why intelligent people are treated with suspicion. It's not that their ideas are incomprehensible. It's that their ideas are unbearable. The illusions are too precious, too fragile to abandon. So society defends its stories. It wraps itself tighter in beautiful lies and pushes away the uncomfortable truths. And yet, deep down we know the illusions can't hold forever. If Schopenhauer could see our world today, he wouldn't be surprised. He'd simply nod. Because the very patterns he observed 2 centuries ago have only grown louder, more exaggerated, and more destructive. Look at social media. Platforms that promise connection have instead amplified noise. The loudest voices dominate, not the wisest. The simplest slogans, the shallowest opinions, the quickest jokes, these rise to the top. Complexity, nuance, depth, they sink, drowned beneath the flood of fast content. It's the intellectual equivalent of junk food. Easy to consume, addictively sweet, but empty of nourishment. And just like junk food, it leaves us bloated, restless, and starving for something real. Now imagine being a truly intelligent person in this environment. Someone who sees the cracks, who points out the contradictions, who dares to say, "Wait, this doesn't make sense." What happens to them? They're labeled elitist, pretentious, out of touch. They're pushed aside, not because they're wrong, but because they threaten the illusion that everyone is comfortable consuming. Social media thrives on consensus, on likes, shares, and trending hashtags. But intelligence thrives on dissent, on breaking patterns, on raising uncomfortable questions. These 2 forces clash, and in that clash, society repeats its old pattern: celebrate noise, punish thought. The result? Intelligent people withdraw further. They either retreat into silence, or they hide their depth behind masks of casualness just to be accepted. Meanwhile, the world drowns in a chorus of shallow voices, mistaking volume for truth. And so, the fear of intelligence, the very fear Schopenhauer described, has found its perfect stage in our digital age. The deeper you see, the lonelier you often feel. This is one of the hidden costs of intelligence, not arrogance, not superiority, but isolation. When your mind notices what others overlook, when you question what others accept, you begin to feel like a foreigner in your own culture. Conversations that others find exciting feel empty to you. Traditions that others defend with passion seem hollow. Even relationships can feel fragile because so much of daily life is built on illusions you can no longer believe in. It's like speaking a rare language. You can manage the basics, small talk, polite smiles, surface-level connection. But when you want to dive deeper, when you want to explore the truths that stir inside you, most people simply don't understand. You find yourself translating, simplifying, softening your words so that others won't recoil. Over time, this becomes exhausting. And so, intelligent people often retreat. Not because they hate others, not because they think they're superior, but because being constantly misunderstood wears on the soul. Silence feels easier than endless self-editing. Solitude feels safer than rejection. Yet here's the tragedy. Society looks at this withdrawal and misinterprets it. It sees distance and calls it arrogance. It sees solitude and labels it antisocial behavior. It sees careful self-censorship and calls it pretension. The reality is far simpler. Intelligent people crave connection just like anyone else, but real connection requires mutual understanding. And that, for them, is rare. This is why many of the most intelligent voices in history spent much of their lives alone, dismissed, or ignored, not because they lacked something, but because they carried too much. The weight of awareness isolated them from a world that preferred comfort to clarity. And yet, despite the loneliness, despite the criticism, despite the endless misunderstandings, truly intelligent people carry something rare: the courage to stand alone. Most of us bend ourselves to fit in. We soften our edges, we compromise our convictions, we trade authenticity for approval. But intelligent individuals often refuse, not out of stubbornness, not out of pride, but because they sense that certain things matter more than belonging. Truth matters more than comfort. Integrity matters more than applause. Authenticity matters more than acceptance. But society rarely sees it that way. Independence is mistaken for arrogance. Integrity is read as superiority. The refusal to play along is interpreted as an insult to those who do. And so the cycle of misunderstanding deepens. The intelligent hold their ground, society pushes back harder, and both sides retreat further into their corners. Picture it: a single figure walking against a crowd, moving steadily while hundreds rush the opposite way. To the crowd, that person looks defiant, arrogant, rebellious. But from their perspective, they are simply walking toward the truth, unwilling to lose themselves in the stampede. This willingness to be misunderstood, to face rejection rather than betray one's own clarity, is not weakness. It is a form of moral courage. It is a rebellion against mediocrity, a declaration that life is too short to live by illusions. And even if society resists them, even if their insights go unrecognized, history shows us something powerful. The few willing to stand alone often end up being the ones who move humanity forward. Despite the resistance they face, intelligent people offer society something priceless. They are its conscience, the voice that refuses to be silenced when everyone else nods along. They are the ones who point out that the emperor has no clothes, even when silence would be safer. Every breakthrough, every revolution in thought, every step forward in human history began with someone willing to think differently, to see what others ignored, to ask questions that no one else dared to ask. From science to philosophy, from art to politics, progress has always come from those brave enough to challenge the comfortable illusions of their time. This is why society both fears and needs intelligent people. They are the uncomfortable truth-tellers, the necessary disruptors, the sparks that ignite change. So if you've ever felt misunderstood for thinking too deeply, if you've ever been told you read too serious or too much, remember this: your intelligence is not a flaw. It is not something to hide, to shrink, or to apologize for. It is a responsibility, and it is a gift. Society may fear intelligence, but it also depends on it. Without it, we would never question, never grow, never move beyond the illusions that keep us stagnant. Schopenhauer himself was ignored and mocked in his time. Yet today, his ideas shape psychology, philosophy, and our very understanding of human nature. What was once dismissed as arrogance is now recognized as wisdom. And the same may be true for you. The questions that make others uncomfortable today could be the truths that free them tomorrow. The insights that isolate you now may one day guide others forward. Don't dim your light to make others comfortable. Don't silence your questions because the world prefers easy answers. Stand firm in your clarity, even if it means standing alone. Because in the end, intelligence isn't the problem. The fear of intelligence is. And if we can face that fear, if we can value depth over illusion, we may finally begin to see the world as it truly is. So if this message spoke to you, if it made you feel less alone in how you see the world, then you are exactly the kind of person this was meant for. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more, and share it with someone who needs to be reminded. They are not alone in their depth.